Hello everyone, my name is Hannah. Welcome to a new video. Today we're going to talk about all of the books that I read in April. So I managed to read 17 books in April, which is amazing, and I found a new favorite series of all time. So it was just a great reading month. Most of the books that I read were either 4 or 5 stars. I did have a 1 star, but it was just a great reading month that one was just kind of like barely a blip on my radar. So yeah, let's get right into all of the books that I read in April. So at the very beginning of the month, I actually was in the middle of a 24-hour readathon that went from the last day of March to the first day of April. So technically in April, I completed 2 books in that 24-hour readathon for the first day of April. So the first book that I read was Giant Days Volume 9. This is one of my favorite graphic novel series of all time. I love it so much. It's such a comfort read. I've said this before, but I give most of these volumes like 4 stars, but the series as a whole is 5 stars. I don't know. It's kind of hard to give a graphic novel 5 stars for me. I don't know. I ended up giving this one also a 4 stars, like I said, but yeah, I love this series so much. It's so funny. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, it is basically about these 3 girls who start college and they're kind of thrown into adult life, and it's just them kind of navigating going like from being a kid to being an adult and like starting university and finding an apartment and going to classes and like all of the chaos that comes with that. And they're so very different, like 3 very different people, but they've developed this like amazing friendship, and it is just so much fun. So yeah, this is what I started off the month with. Literally, I woke up from that like 24-hour readathon and this is the one that I started with. So 4 stars for this one. And then the other book that I finished on the first day of April for that 24-hour readathon was A Murderous Relation by Deanna Raybourn. This is book 5 in the Veronica Speedwell series, which I had been reading in March and absolutely loving. There's only 2 books left and I'm in the middle of the 6th one right now, but yeah, I read A Murderous Relation. This is the first one in the series that I gave 5 stars to, but this is another situation where like the series as a whole I would give 5 stars to because I love it so much. And I am not a historical fiction reader typically, but this is just so amazing. So this series follows Veronica Speedwell, who is a lepidopterist. So she studies butterflies, she's a scientist, and she does not do what society intends for women to do. She does whatever she wants, whenever she wants. And one day she's coming home from her aunt's funeral and somebody breaks into her house, and so she like chases after them, and then this random man comes and is like, hey, you're in grave danger, please come back to London with me, I want to protect you. And she's like, well, I needed to go to London anyway, so sure, fine, whatever. And then that man introduces her to Stoker, which is his friend, and Stoker is the one who is meant to protect Veronica from this grave danger, and she doesn't really believe she's in this grave danger until that man that like found her and is friends with Stoker ends up getting murdered. And so Veronica and Stoker try to figure out what's going on, why that guy was murdered, if she really is in grave danger, and why that would be. So it's a bit of a mystery, and then the series just really takes off from there. Veronica and Stoker are 2 of my favorite characters. Their banter is hilarious. It's definitely got like a Sherlock-esque vibe because they're both very intelligent and matter-of-fact, and they're really good at investigating things, and they have this witty banter that is just so much fun to read from. And Veronica is one of my favorite female characters. She's such a delight. But yeah, this was the first one that I gave 5 stars to, and I just absolutely loved this one. All right, I'm gonna skip around in the order here because some of these belong together, even though I didn't read them like side by side. But anyways, I read Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas in April. If you didn't know, I would be surprised by that if you frequent my channel because I mention it literally in every single video. But I'm doing a Sarah J. Maas read-along of every book that Sarah J. Maas has ever published with my friend Christina. I'll leave her linked below. I'll leave the read-along info down below. But basically, we're dedicating 2 weeks to each book, and then we do live reading sprints, which aren't spoilery. So if you did want to come and you're like not planning to ever read this series, or you're not reading it right now, or you're reading something completely different, you can still join those reading sprints. and then we do a spoilery live show discussion. So we started with the Throne of Glass series, so there's still time to catch up if you wanted to join us for that. But yes, we did our live shows for Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, which I absolutely love. I love this series so much. I just finished my reread of this series earlier in the year, and I just like immediately wanted to reread them again. So this is my 5th time rereading this series, and I'm still adding like new tabs and stuff, and I'm going through and like writing in it, because before I had written a little bit but not very much, but like I'm actually going through and annotating, and I'm just absolutely loving my time rereading this series. It's Christina's very first time reading the series, and so it's just really fun to see her reactions and her theories to everything. But yes, both of these are 5 out of 5 stars for me. All right, now let's talk about, I'm sure, what you've all been waiting to hear. So I discovered a new favorite series of all time, and I read the entire series this month, and that is the Zodiac Academy series. These books are huge. Let me try to hold them up here. Here they are, okay? I was not planning to love these as much as I did. I picked up the first book, which is called The Awakening, and I got it on Kindle Unlimited, but the physical copies of the books are just so pretty. Like, the chapter headers are just so gorgeous. And obviously it's a new favorite series of all time, so I need to own the physical books. I wish I had annotated when I was reading this, but I didn't know I was gonna love it. And at the time, then I was like, by the time I realized I was gonna love it, I just was like wanting to just read straight through. So I'll do a reread of this sometime and I'll annotate then. This is kind of like blowing up all over TikTok and Instagram right now, and so I wanted to give it a shot. Basically, this series follows these 2 twins, Darcy and Tori, and they live in the mortal world. And one day when they are like 18, they find out that they are actually these long lost princesses to this like fae world called Solaria. So they get brought back to Solaria and they attend Zodiac Academy, and their magic gets awakened, and so they're trying to learn all of these like elemental magics and learning about this fae world that they were born into but were taken out of, so they know nothing of this world. And at the same time, there are these 4 heirs, the celestial heirs, who hate them. So when the king and queen fell, like Darcy and Tori's parents got killed, these celestial counselors took over, these 4 celestial counselors took over, and they've basically been ruling Solaria since then. And so these 4 boys are the heirs to that, and they do not want their territory to be stomped on, and so they want to stomp on Tori and Darcy. This is a kind of bully romance. Yeah, it starts off really intense, kind of like there's parts in here and even in like the second books where I'm just like, how are they going to redeem themselves from this, because they're so mean. But I just loved the series so much. I had such a good time with it, so I just flew through it. And if you didn't watch my reading vlogs of me reading this, I was just having the time of my life. I got so many people to read this series. Like, people were commenting on my videos that they were picking it up because of me. I have a whole friend group we call ourselves the Zodiac Girls, because like we're all reading Zodiac Academy books and loving it, and it's just like the best time ever. A lot of people say that they didn't like the writing in this one, or that you have to get through the first book and then the books start getting good, but I really loved this one. I still gave it 5 stars because I just literally had the best time ever. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I didn't mind the writing. I will say the writing does get better, and like the story, the plot gets very in-depth, but this is just like the kickoff point of it. But yeah, I still gave this one 5 stars. Then the second book is called Ruthless Fae. This was another 5 stars. I'm not going to talk too much about each of the books, obviously, because of spoilers. And if you want to see more of my in-depth thoughts on each book, you can go watch my reading vlogs for them. But yeah, I'm just going to go through and say my rating. So this was another 5 stars. Then we have the third book, The Reckoning. This is one of my favorites in the series. I can't decide between this one and another one. They're both like level amount of like affection for them. I absolutely loved this book so freaking much, and I want to do a like spoilery discussion video of the whole series. And when I was like writing my notes out for like the things that I wanted to talk about that happened in this book, I really want to just reread it. So yeah, this one is one of my favorites. I can't decide, so I'm just gonna say this is my favorite, and so is the other one. But yeah, 5 out of 5 for this one for sure, like a special 5 because it's a favorite. Then I read the book 0, it's called, or book 0.5. It's a novella set a couple of years, like 5 years before or 3 years before. I can't really remember. I guess I could look. It's a prequel novella set 5 years before book 1. Okay, this was back, like printed back when it was still called Supernatural Bullies and Beasts. That's what the series name originally was, but now it goes by Zodiac Academy. But this one is specifically called Origins of an Academy Bully. So you get some background knowledge. I actually do think that this is an important novella to read. It's like 85 pages. And it gives you some backstory that you'll want going into book 4. So if you're going to read the series, I would recommend picking this up after you read book 3 because I just feel like that's the perfect time to get this information. And I gave this one 4 stars because it's kind of hard for a novella to get 5 stars. Like, it gave important information, but my 2 favorite characters weren't in this novella at all. We hadn't even met them yet, Tori and Darcy. And I don't know. It's 4 stars. Like, I liked it, but it's not like anything crazy because it's just like a silly little novella. Then we have the 4th book, Shadow Princess. This was another 5 out of 5. I love this one. It really gets intense after book 2, but like book 4 picks up, and then it's just like the plot is just takes off. It gets so intense and these endings are just insane. Then we have the 5th book, Cursed Fates. This is the other book that I was talking about that's like one of my favorites. 3 and 5 are just, they're everything. I love them so much. So yeah, this was the other one that's like vying for that first place spot. I don't know, maybe I'll solidify which one I like more when I do a reread, but yeah. I really love this one. This was a 5 out of 5. And again, it's a special 5 out of 5 because it's a favorite. Then we have another little novella, which is called The Big ASS Party. So Ass Party, which stands for the Almighty Sovereign Society, which is like a club at Zodiac Academy. But yeah, this one is very kind of wholesome. It has a lot of very cute moments between a lot of the characters, all wrapped into a little novella. This is one that I don't feel like you need to read in order to like get the information you need for the series, but it is a fun little like bonus addition if you want it, but I don't feel like this one is super necessary. And again, I gave this one 4 stars. Then we have the 6th book, which is called Fated Throne. I gave this one 5 stars. And then finally we have the 7th book, which is called Heartless Sky. Now this one is I loved this one, but I also at the same time hated it. So much happens and it's so much that I didn't want to happen. And I'm left off on that like very major cliffhanger, like the biggest one of the series. And I've been binging all of the books and now I have to wait for the 8th book to come out for months. It doesn't come out till December. But yeah, I did really enjoy this one, but there were just some things that I did not jive with. So I gave this one a 4.5 stars. I did really love it. I know like my Zodiac girls were like, what the heck happens in that you gave it half a star less than all the other ones. But yeah, I did still really love it. Like 4.5 is still really good. There were just a couple things that I was unhappy with. So yeah, that is one of my new favorite series. I read the whole series. I still have The Awakening as Told by the Boys, which is the first book, but written from the Celestial Heirs' points of view. So it's very Midnight Sun, and I'm excited to read that one. I will be picking it up in May. But as far as the like series goes, I've read everything in the series besides that like bonus book. Okay, then I also did a 24-hour fantasy romance readathon with my friends, the Zodiac girls. We just had the time of our lives. Well, the Zodiac girls minus Kirsten, because Kirsten doesn't really read fantasy or fantasy romance, but she's loving the Zodiac Academy series. But yeah, the rest of us that do read fantasy and fantasy romance, we did like a very spontaneous fantasy romance 24-hour readathon. And I read Cursed Fates, which is the 5th book, and then I read the entirety of Crown of Midnight, and then I also picked up The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert. Now, this one I thought was going to be like a silly, goofy buddy read with the girls. Like, there's some stuff that happens in this one, or that like just is in this one that we thought was really funny, and I thought that this was just gonna be like a funny time, you know? but I hated it. I really, really did not enjoy it. I just think that monster romance is not for me. I know that now. I'm glad that I tried it with a novella and didn't dedicate a bunch of time to it. I wish that I could just purge that from my mind. I wish I had never read it. I gave it 1 star. Did not enjoy it. Will not be picking up any more monster romances. Then I also read Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. This is the volume 1 of the webtoon Lore Olympus. So it's a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I really liked it. I checked it out from the library, so I don't have a copy here, but it was very cute. I really like where the story is gonna go. I think that the Hades and Persephone are very cute, but this is just the very beginning to the story. They meet in this one, and then you see them separately. So I'm excited for volume 2, where hopefully they get thrown together again a lot more, because I really like them when they're together. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And then I participated in Spring Flingaween at the end of April for the last 3 or 4 days of April. So if you don't know, Spring Flingaween is hosted by Gabby from Gabby Reads and Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte. Every season they do a Halloween themed readathon. So there's Summerween, Winterween, Camp Weekend Ween, which is right around Halloween time, and then they just introduced this one, Spring Flingaween. And I read 2 books for this readathon. I started with Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, and it fulfilled both of the prompts because it has pink on the cover and it's a backlist thriller book. And I went through a phase earlier in the year of wanting to read revenge thrillers after reading the Mind F series, and this one got recommended to me a lot, so I really did want to pick it up. I had the ebook for it and I had the audiobook, so I listened to the audiobook for it, and I really did enjoy this one. The 2 main points of view that we follow, the 2 dads, was somewhat difficult to read. So this book is a revenge thriller about these 2 dads getting revenge for their sons who were brutally murdered, shot in the face, murdered. And both of their sons were married, and so that's how they have that connection. And both of the dads are pretty homophobic, and one of them is quite racist at times. And so me just saying that, if you didn't read the book, why would you read that, you know? I kept thinking, how is this gonna go? But they really do make you feel for them a little bit, and then they are super frustrating though, because the way that they think and talk about their sons, it's just so frustrating. And it is frustrating that it took their sons being murdered for them to finally realize that they're okay with their sons being gay. But I just thought that the revenge plot was super, super interesting and intriguing. It was very intense, very action-packed, so I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And then the next book I picked up was The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This was the last book that I read for the Spring Flingaween readathon, and I did not really enjoy this one. So I had read 2 other books by Simone St. James, 2 other paranormal thrillers, and this is also a paranormal thriller, and they're so similar. I read The Broken Girls and her newest release, The Book of Cold Cases, and the setup for them is just the exact same. It's dual timeline. You're following the present timeline who has investigated something that is linked to the past timeline, and you're getting both points of view, and you're finding stuff out in the past that is now connected to the present, and there's paranormal aspects to it. It's literally the same setup in all 3 books. And with this, I think I would have liked this one a lot more if I hadn't read those other 2 books. I feel of the 3, whichever one you read first is the one you're going to enjoy the most, because it just feels like the same story told again and again and again. So maybe if I had waited to pick this one up until after I had read other things and then I was in the mood for a paranormal thriller, maybe I would have enjoyed this one more, but it just felt like the same story recycled again and again. So I didn't enjoy this one as much as I could have, and I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. Okay, editing Hannah here to say that I forgot to talk about the 2 books that I DNF'd this month. So I DNF'd The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I got 337 pages into that one. And I really liked the beginning. I liked the academy setting, but after Rin left the academy, I just didn't care. And it was a chore to pick up. And then it felt like a book you would read for homework. I don't know. I just couldn't keep pushing through it. So I DNF'd that one at 337 pages. And then I also DNF'd The High Mountain Court by A.K. Mulford. after 113 pages because it was just doing absolutely nothing for me. Like, the characters, didn't care about them. I didn't care about the situation at all. I didn't care what was going on. And everything just fell kind of flat for me, so I DNF'd that one as well. So there you have it. Those are the 17 books that I read in April. Like I said, overall, it was a very good reading month. Let's see, how many 5 stars did I give out? 9 of the 14 were 5 stars. That's amazing. That ratio right there is just like out of this world incredible. So here they all are, all 17 books, well, minus the ones that I don't own. It's quite the chunky stack. And I'm so happy that I read, well, most of these. If you made it to the end of this video, please leave the book stack emoji since this was quite the book stack. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can let me know by liking and subscribing down below. It really helps support my channel, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.